everyone, my name is Carla and you've reached my channel, Carla Being Crafty, where I talk about mostly cross stitch but also other crafts and a little bit of life thrown in. I normally do a regular FlossTube video every weekend and this is no exception. This is not my regular FlossTube video. I'll be doing that on Sunday in 2 days. Today is Friday, the 4th of October, and I thought I would just come on here tonight and go over a few options that you might have when you are trying to organize your flosses or do floss management when you're kitting up a HAED or a full coverage or really any project, but I'm gearing this a little bit more towards like the really large full cover projects that have lots and lots and lots of flosses. So I have a couple different options that I use in kitting up my flosses and some options within the options, and I'll just talk about them and what I like about each method and what I don't like about each method. And I just thought that would be a fun thing to do tonight. As I said, it is October 4th, which is the start of the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon weekend. I don't usually participate in that. I do live alone and I usually stay up late on Friday and Saturday night stitching anyway, and I just think it would be a little bit of a bummer to just sit here by myself stitching for 24 hours. So it's not something I usually participate in, but I do enjoy hearing about people's stories and adventures when they're doing it. And if you happen to be watching my video as a way to have a little FlossTube entertainment on while you are stitching in your 24 hours, then I hope you're having a great time. I hope I help keep you entertained, and yeah, let me know if I was a part of that with you, because that would be a real honor. So let's get down to it. So basically I think that, well, for me there's like 3 basic methods of kitting up a full coverage project. I have 2 quick stitch Heaven Earth design projects currently in progress, and I will be starting a full-on project. I've decided I am going to start Randall Spangler's Village Bookstore, which I'll show you in a little bit, the picture of it. But I kind of had some debate on my channel and kind of solicited everybody's opinion, and basically the opinion was go for it. It doesn't matter if it takes you the rest of your life, just do it because it's fun and it's beautiful and you'll enjoy it. So I agree with the consensus, and I'm going to actually start it, I think, on January 1st. I'm thinking about actually starting it at midnight on New Year's Eve, just as a total new start, new year thing. And then my other plan for my full coverage is I've only been stitching about 6 months. I started in March of this year, and so I heard about Mania and watched a lot of videos on Mania. It wasn't something I participated in, and I am currently, I start new things fairly regularly. I usually have a couple new starts a month and several finishes a month, and and that pattern is working for me. So I don't think during Mania I want to have a ton of starts. I don't think that would be something that I would necessarily enjoy. But what I decided I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have a full coverage Mania, and I'm going to work exclusively on my full HAED, and then if I have not completed the 2 quick stitches before then, or if I've started another quick stitch, then I will work on that as well. But those will be the things that I rotate through and just set all my other projects aside for May. So that's my plan for next year with full coverages. But so let's get down to my methods here. So the first method is what I did when I started my my first quick stitch, which is this Lavender Roses. So this is the first HAED I ever did. I think I started this about the first month that I started stitching, so I was brand new. This is how far I've gotten on it, just so you guys have an idea. I was brand new. The idea of the Heaven Earth designs was really exciting to me, but I wanted to start with something that was a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable, so I decided to do a quick stitch. And so my first thing when I went to go kit up I did learn about FlossTube bags and I liked those. So the first thing I did, this first method, is to have all my flosses in FlossTube bags on a ring. So they're all marked with their DMC number. And I also thought I was being very clever. I got the little DMC, these little stickers. I don't like them. I used them when I first started kitting up. Again, I was very new. I didn't really have an opinion about things yet. But so these are mostly that. Since then, I started to write the number big in Sharpie, and I like that method a lot better. But most of these still have the stickers on them. So here's my ring of all the flosses for the Lavender Roses, and there's like 90 something of them. So would I use this method again? I would not. This works just fine. It keeps the floss nice and clean and all organized, and it's good for like 310 where I have lots of skeins of it. But I think that it's a waste of, not a waste of floss, but it's not a good use of my floss, and it takes up a lot of room in the kit, the project bag, and I wouldn't use this method again. I've also learned since, in the last 6 months of stitching, that even with a Heaven and Earth design or a full coverage piece, especially the ones that have a lot of colors, that yes, there's a lot of colors. It may call for 100 or 200 colors, but you're only going to use a really small amount of most of those. A strand of floss, especially if you're using them 1 or 2 strands at a time of the 6-stranded piece, that goes really far. And if you have a piece that only has 100 or 200 stitches of a color, you certainly do not need to keep the whole skein, prisoner in that project. So I won't be using this method again. When I finish my Lavender Roses, I will go ahead and put all of these back into my master boxes and use a different method going forward for all of my pieces. In fact, I am using a different method for everything else. This is the only one that I have kitted up this way. So there's nothing wrong with doing this, and it was a good learning thing for me, but I wouldn't use this method again. But I do like the floss bags for my master storage. Okay, so that's method number 1. Method number 2 is to use floss drops. Oh, let me go back to talking about method number 1. One of the disadvantages of this method, of the method of the bags, is that when you're on your chart, it creates an additional step. Because when you get on your chart and you see a symbol, let's say it's, a solid square, you then need to go to your key on the pattern to find out what number that solid square is so that you can then find it in your storage method. That's an extra step that I don't necessarily like. Okay, so we're done with that. The second method that you can use for kitting up projects is to put your threads on floss drops like these. And this is probably my favorite way to kit up flosses for any project that uses 20 colors or under. If it got to be more than 20 colors, you're going to run into the same kind of, unwieldy issues that you have with the bags on the ring and that kind of thing. But I do really, really, really like floss drops for kitting up. There's several different kinds of floss drops that you can get. Well, the nice thing is a lot of overdyed flosses that you might use for your projects actually already come on a card. This is Gentle Art. So you can use this card instead of putting it onto a floss drop. You don't have to keep it on the card, and the card is a little bit flimsier than a floss drop, so you might want to change it out anyway, but you can just use these if you're using all flosses that come on them. So you can find a lot of like really pretty floss drops on Etsy. They range in price, I would say from $4.50 to $5.50 for about 20 of them. So somebody's taken a card, you know, used a Cricut or whatever and made this the pretty shape with the pretty pattern. They're solid on the back with the hole, and that's what you use. And what I usually do is I will mark on the thing the number of the floss, and then I'll draw the symbol as well. So I do like using this method if there's not too many colors in the project. So again, these you can purchase, and they're very pretty. You can also purchase this brand of thread drops, which is like this, these white teardrop shaped things. Basically the same thing, just a slightly different shape. These for a pack of 30 pieces plus a metal ring is between $7 and $8 on 1, 2, 3 stitch. Again, these are perfectly acceptable. You can write on them the same way. The most recent thing that I have discovered, however, and this is probably how I'm going to be doing my floss drops in the future, is I bought a pack of 200 cards on Amazon, tags. You can get them all in like the brown craft paper color. You can get them multicolor. I got these also to make tags for my project bags, because my project bags that I make don't have vinyl front. So I use this as a way to mark them, you know, so I can take a look at the tag and not have to open each thing to know what's inside. But I realized that in addition to using these as tags, gift cards, whatever, they would make really great floss drops. And all you have to do to make a floss drop is to punch a hole in the bottom with a punch. Now this is a 1-inch punch, and it might be a little bit too big. You might be able to get away with a 1/2-inch punch, but I'm not having a problem with the ones that I'm using with the 1-inch. And cost-wise, I got 200 of these for, I want to say it was about $8. The multicolored ones are a little bit more expensive than the all craft color, so if you don't care about that, then you just get the all one color ones, or black or white, or, well, not black. That would be hard to write on, but you could get all white. And then this punch was, I think, $7 on Amazon. So that's a cost-effective way to do it, and if you get a big stock of the tags, you'll always have them, you know, so you can always make more floss drops. So the floss drop method is, like I said, my preferred method going forward for kitting up projects that have 20 colors or less. So obviously we know that Heaven and Earth designs are not 20 colors or less. So what is the last method that I'm going to talk about? So this is the method that I'm using on my second quick stitch, which is called Nap Fae. And that's how far I am on this one. Now you notice I do diagonal stitching, and there are 2 slightly different methods for the 2 that I showed you, because you may have noticed that the Lavender Roses started up here and I'm working down, and this started at the bottom and I'm working up. The reason that I'm working up is because I'm not doing the background, I'm not stitching the background on this, and so, you know, I wanted to come up to the background instead of trying to figure out where to start. The difference in doing them is where you park. So I think I might at some point do another video, if anybody's interested in that, on how I do my diagonal stitching and my parking, which is not unique. It's just, you know, the way I do it. Just probably a combination of several people's methods. So the way that I kitted up this one is I'm using these floss cards. Again, I got them on Amazon. I just ordered another set. Let me see, you can get, I believe, 10 or 12 of these for like $9. You can get 6 of them for like $7. I got a slightly different brand, so I think I'm getting 5 or 6. Anyway, so regardless of the brand that you get, you'll get a set, and they have 20 holes in them. Actually 22 if you use these side ones, but 20 holes. And then what I have done is, when I went to go kit up the thing, I just cut off like 3 or 4 lengths of floss in each color. And then if I run out, I can go to my master box of floss and replace. So far, working on that corner, I've run out of 1 floss. The thing that I like about using these is that I have put the number and the symbol. What I actually did is, on the Heaven and Earth designs on the pattern, I copied the page that had the symbols next to the numbers. I copied it on sticky paper, on sticker paper, and then I actually just cut them out, so I didn't even have to draw the symbols. So, and then I cut them out and I put them next to the corresponding floss. So when I come to a new color, or I need to thread, I mean, I do have to flip through my 5 floss cards, but it's a lot easier to find the flosses and it takes a lot less time. Now for some people, this would drive them crazy, flosses being like tangly or whatever. It doesn't bother me too much. It does bother me a little bit. So the difference that I'm going to make when I kit up my big Randall Spangler, which is, where's my picture? Which is this, Village Bookstore. This is the one I'm going to be starting. And this is a picture from his website, so I don't know, I mean, I'm sure that the cross stitches is pretty much the same, but, you know, detail-wise, it might not be exactly. The thing that I think that is so cool about this project, I mean, it's just beautiful to start with the Victorian and the purple Victorian house, but all these little circles, those are all cats, or there's one dragling, and there's a bird that I didn't circle. All the other circled things are cats, so some of them are kind of hidden. There's one that's like peeking out around the corner here. There's one that's on the branch of a tree here. This one's only one, I'm not sure if that's a cat or a super large squirrel, but I think it's a cat. But, you know, there's cats in the window, shadows of a cat. I love it. There's so many cats on this. So that's one that I'm going to be starting in January. And the difference that I'm going to make when I kit it up is I'm only going to use one side of these cards. So I'm actually going to take my rings, and instead of, you know, hooking them together that way, I'm going to hook them together like a spiral bound notebook, and I'm going to do 2 or maybe 3 and hook them that way, and just have the flosses coming down on the one side. I think that they'll stay nicer that way. I'll be able to kind of like set them into a floss bag when they're not in use to take care of them. And I think it'll just keep it nicer. But this is what I use and what I will use going forward if I do any really large projects, is these cards. I mean, I'm calling them cards, they're plastic. And they come in multicolors. The ones that I ordered for this new project, they're slightly different in that the holes are not hexagonal. They're like drops, like teardrops with the point towards the middle. So that's the only difference that I could see online. But anyway, so those are the 3 methods, with a couple of the variations thrown in. You know, in the several months that I've been stitching, you know, my methods have evolved. I'm sure I'm sure you guys, if you've been stitching a long time, have lots of different methods. I know there are people who bobbinate, especially for their HAEDs. They bobbinate and they keep their flosses in a little box. I don't bobbinate. I don't want to bobbinate. I don't like bobbinated flosses. So that's just my personal preference. And so I know there's people that only bobbinate when they're kitting up a big project, exactly for this reason, that they don't want the flosses, you know, hanging out like that. That bothers them. So that is another method, is that you can bobbinate and then you can get a floss box and put them in order that way. So that's a fourth method that you could use. So anyway, I hope that you found this little extra FlossTube video helpful. Please let me know, what method do you use? Do you have any questions about the things that I'm doing? Do you have any suggestions for things that maybe would make my methods better or easier, or anything like that? Yeah, so yeah, I enjoy kitting stuff up. You know, it's like the first step of the process, so that's a whole event in and of itself. So kitting up the thing, now that I've been thinking about it a while, I'm excited to start this. It has a companion piece, so if this takes me, you know, 10 or 15 years, then when I'm in my 60s, I guess I can start on this one, which is the Rose Trellis In. This doesn't have as many cats, but it does have a unicorn here. So, and these are Randall Spangler, they're HAED patterns. I actually got the patterns through 123 Stitch, but they are Heaven Earth Designs, licensed through Heaven Earth Designs. So, if you have any questions, then please let me know. Put your comments below. I will be sure to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoy getting together with you guys over video. I have a really good time with it. So I hope you have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Happy stitching if you're doing the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon. If you are not and are just stitching your regular stitchy amount, then have fun with that too. And I will see you guys again on Sunday in my regular FlossTube video. And in the meantime, then just have a really good weekend, you guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.